Bill McDonough really needs no introduction to this audience. Bill is an architect, began working in the 1980s, doing very significant work in green architecture, and was a pioneer in many ways. And I think he did one thing that deserves to be credited. He expanded the notion of ecological design to cover all kinds of things beyond just buildings. So as he put it, or used to say, design is the first signal of human intention. And so what he did was to expand the boundaries of design. Bill, I've not seen the film, but Bill and his colleagues have written two books that are quite excellent, Cradle to Cradle and The Upcycle. And Bill has expanded his work into a variety of other things: product design, chemistry, chemical protocol for manufacturing. And so he is one of the most notable people in design. So without further ado, his film, The Nemesis of Sustainability, I have not seen, but Bill, I think you can expect to be fairly critical of the notion. He once said, relative to the term sustainability, that if you're asked to characterize the relationship with you and your spouse or significant other or whatever, and you say, well, it's sustainable. I mean, how exciting is that? So I think you can expect a film that's fairly critical and very provocative. So without further ado, Bill McDonough's film, The Nemesis of Sustainability.
Hello everyone, I'm Bill McDonough. I'm an architect and I'm coming to you from Charlottesville, Virginia. I'm sorry I can't join you. Renewable energy is obviously one of the great subjects of our time. And what I like to talk about at the World Economic Forum, where I now chair the Meta Council for Circular Economy, is the idea that we can put the re back into resources. And when we think about the idea of renewable energy, it's clearly one of the key elements of renewing the world and regenerating the benefits that this world has provided to all of us forever. So, having created the cradle-to-cradle design protocol, we look at the idea that materials have to be safe and healthy in biological technical cycles, that we put the re back into resources with circular economy, material reutilization, that we have renewable energy, clean water, and social fairness. So when we look at the renewable energy element of this, we realize how wonderful it is to consider the idea of perhaps a renewably powered country. And since you have the privilege of having President Oliver Grimsson from Iceland with you, I hope, that I realize, having been to Iceland for 45 years every year and getting to know President Grimsson as a friend, I also have learned that Iceland in the last 50 years has gotten off coal for its primary power needs and is using hydro and geothermal, and except for transportation, are pretty much free of fossil fuels. So when we look at this kind of movement, and we realize that solar collectors are now becoming commodity, as we expected many years ago, we just waited for the day, and here it is. We can also get cradle-to-cradle solar collectors, thanks to SunPower has now designed its solar collectors to be cradle-to-cradle certified, so the materials can become benefits for future generations over and over again. We've also seen new batteries that are developed that are cradle-to-cradle certified, batteries safe enough for even children to play with. And this we find very exciting. So we're also moving for a qualification of these technologies, not just a quantification of the kilowatt hours and their price. We find that exciting. We're now designing all of our buildings, and have been for many years, to make energy from the sun. At Oberlin College, and I believe David Orr is there, we did a building that makes more electricity from solar energy than it requires and shares it with the neighbors. We've done the same with NASA in Mountain View, buildings that produce more energy from renewable power than they require. That's pretty exciting. We also are building big factories in India that are growing food on the roof, have greenhouses and solar combined with their structures. and provide multiple benefits from the renewable power to the building. We make water out of the air, we grow food, we provide jobs, and the world gets better because we're here. At Schiphol Trade Park in Amsterdam, we are designing a new 3.5 square kilometer hub for the circular economy, which has now been declared the national hub for the Netherlands for circular economy. And we're designing the buildings to be photosynthetic. The north sides are all growing food. The south sides are all producing electricity. And the building materials are all defined as biological and technical nutrition. So here we come. And I think that what we'll see next is the notion of carbon being seen as the asset that it is, and stop talking about negative considerations on carbon, always about how we have to reduce our carbon. And if all we say to people is we're going to reduce our carbon by 20% by 2020, we're telling the world what we're not going to do. That's like saying to a taxi driver, quick, I'm not going to the airport. And if our goal is 0, then our goal is nothing, and we have to tell our children our goal is nothing, and they're making it difficult for us because they need something. So really we need to take a positive attitude toward this. And I think a new language around carbon, as carbon is a benefit in soil and carbon is a benefit in durable goods. And we have some new language for all this that we're developing and we're bringing into China. On June 25th, I will be in Beijing working with former Vice Chairman Xie of the NDRC and the new China Association for Circular Economy to develop protocols for implementation of circular economy with China, with the ministers and the businesses. So this idea of actually taking these things into the marketplace quickly is upon us. And we've been able to do a factory in China, 3 million square feet, that has 15 megawatts of wind power now to power it. So these things are coming, and they're coming quickly. And fair play to everyone in this conference for their participation and contributions to these issues. It's been magnificent, and it will continue. So I think as we develop the new language, what we're talking about here is moving from simply efficiency to effectiveness. Yes, we can reduce our demand side. Yes, we can increase our supply side of the things we want. We move from value, number, to values. So instead of saying we're being less bad and then thinking that's good, we realize that less is a number relationship and bad is a human value. So we move from the idea of just number to human values. Because if you're less bad, you're bad by definition, just less so. So if we start with our human values, what is right, what is wrong, what is good, what is bad, we can then move to principles. These are the fulcrum of our levers of change. And one of those principles would be use renewable energy. Our visions for the future, which without execution we know are hallucination, are important, and that's what we do here, is we're visionaries, and we offer our children visions of the future that we then execute against. And these are the goals, and that, I think, today has to be tempered by the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. The 17 goals are noble and essential, and they all connect to each other. And then we move to our strategies, our tactics, our metrics, and our value creation. But as we create the value, one of the most surprising things we've seen is not just distributed energy systems that provide photons to people in local circumstances to benefit from over time. And distributed energy is, as obviously people like Amory Lovins have helped us understand for decades now, are so critical. But we also see the idea that we can combine these solar systems with agriculture and other job creation, fiber, soil health, water recapture in soil, and see the carbon as the asset for what it is, and start to increase that and develop a whole protocol for how to really take on the carbon issue as something joyful and beneficial for all humans for all time. And renewable energy is at the center of it. And so thank you for letting me work and participate in this work with all of us. And I can't wait to show you the new buildings.